Okay. So, good afternoon. Almost 11 students are already here, and 21 is the total number of people who are supposed to join. So, this is what we call it as a discipline. If 2 o'clock means 2 o'clock, it's 2:05. People are still on the way. So, anyway, it's their loss. So, there are two parts in today's discussion. One is primarily the 1 hour class, which I would be conducting related to the domain specific expectation in terms of questions. And next 1 hour would be the Bishwadeep Chatterjee. So it remind me, let me just send him a reminder. Okay. So here you go. As I said that this particular domain is a technical domain. And earlier, as I said that somebody asked why 1 year versus 3 year and how they will sustain the 3 year course, because there's a lot of technicalities to understand and to know. So 3 year is enough time provided they give you enough input. And also how they sustain is the number of exercises you need to do for the direction student. So you would be involved as a diploma production as a sound recordist and designer as well as location recordist. Then not only that, before that, there's a mise-en-scene exercise and there's a dialogue exercise, which is primarily focused for you people as a sound designer and sound recording student. And then there is a song picturization, which is very often some of the students pick up the ready-made song, don't take the botheration. But some student who really want to take the pain, they would write a song or they will remix the song. So you people come as a sound designer and mixer. So there's a lot of work to be done for you as a student in the 3 year program. So 3 year is really quite packed and 1 year is a common, as I said. And so there's a lot to learn in terms of sound design course. So coming to what exactly could be asked in terms of the question answers, I have some material meant for those people who have bought our video lecture program in the past. It's a written question answer kind of a thing. I would send it across to you as a complimentary. You don't need to pay anything specifically for it. And then there are certain video lecture which are being given on the first time when we conducted 5 years back the classroom coaching program for 20 days just before the exam. So there are certain 2 hour long lectures. So if you have a time and if you are not really busy with your own thing, you could listen to, they are all connected with the sound recording and sound design and thing which could be asked over there. They all are technical lectures done by our faculty, who's also a music graduate, and then he did the diploma from us. And then he's working, having his own studio as a freelance studio he runs in Noida. So those, and one more student who is based in Canada now. There are two people who have done those lectures. So I'll send it complimentary to you rather than charging for it, because you already have qualified the written exam. So this is a high time you need to be a little more prepared than rest of the people. As I said, the ratio is 1:3. So is a technical course, first of all. Rather, I would say it's the most technically oriented course among the various courses FTII or SRFTII offers. Earlier, they used to call it as a sound recording and audio engineering. Engineering is a little scary, but that's why the qualification for this course is 10+2 with the science, I suppose. Earlier, it used to be graduation in science, but then the change is to 10+2. So that's another thing. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So what kind of question can we ask in the orientation interview? Though already I have checked certain knowledge of yours in terms of the technicalities, but again, they would still like to know much more in detail now, because earlier it was generic plus specific, domain specific, MCQ, MSQ, and descriptive. So anything which would give them understanding of your technical knowledge. Technical knowledge means which is different from those people who are a novice or very general, or call it whatever. But I would say that what kind of technicalities can be asked? So I've framed certain things which are very, very important in terms of technicalities. Very often you will hear that this computer system is 32-bit, 64-bit. Many of the operating gadgets also not suitable. Let's say, for example, if you want to download the Corel Draw is not Corel Exa, right? Some particular kind of a software. Then they would ask you what the system is equipped for, 32-bit or 62-bit. So these kind of knowledge can be asked. What is the difference between 32 and 64-bit? Suppose somebody asks you a question. So you should be very quick and clear in your answer. Not you are still searching for an answer. Answer should be very, very clear in terms of your mind. You're not trying to find out the difference, but the difference should be already known to you. That is point number one. If you're trying to find out, they will figure it out, and that you have a less marks given to a particular question. So that's one thing. Then sound recording earlier used to happen on the magnetic tape, and then there was history of the sound recording is also involved into it. So there might be a certain question connected with the history of sound recording. What kind of sound? It reminds me of a film which Subhash Sahu did on Mangesh Desai, a very, very popular, important sound recordist. Do watch that documentary film by Subhash Sahu. He directed that film on the sound recordist. If you have not seen, please make sure and you watch it. It should be available somewhere on the YouTube and all that. So,
sir, can you please repeat the name of the movie?
name is, it is directed by Subhash Sahu, and the person, the sound recordist on which the film is being made is Mangesh Desai. Okay, I'll try to find out the link. I'll talk to the Sahu and find out if the link is available on YouTube. It should be, because it was made 3-4 years back. So now all the festival round is over, so it should be available on the link. So anything like that, for example. Then as I said, that the history of the sound recording in terms of what used to be earlier there, what was the tape mechanism, Nagra, what kind of tape were used when those days of Nagra was used as a location sound recording. Then it reminds me, the location sound is a very, very niche expertise. Today, there are two awards. One is for location sound and another is for sound design, which is more of post-production in the studio. So let's say, for example, Bishwadeep, who will be joining at 3 o'clock, he has a partner called Nihar. Nihar is from my batch, and Nihar does the location sound, and Bishwadeep take care of the post-production in terms of mixing, tracking, and all that. And since Lagan, before that, it used to be dubbing all the time. But after Lagan, the pilot recording used to be used in the post-production. Hollywood and Indian cinema, that's a major difference in terms of sound. They use the location sound, which we call it as a pilot and pilot sound. And in India, 90% of the film were dubbed earlier. After Lagan, the trend got changed, and Nakul Kamte is the sound designer of that film. It reminded me, I did a long interview with him, and I'll try to figure it out and send it to you. Read that interview also. I have done certain interviews with a sound recordist also, which will be helpful for you people, though our magazine is more of cinematography, but doesn't matter. So Nakul did the sound design for that film and location sound. A very, very sought after sound designer and recordist, particularly for the location sound. So what kind of gadgets are used in a location sound? If I ask you a question, you should be very, very clear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the equipment used. Let's say, for example, if I quickly ask you, what is the favorite, most popular microphone used for the dialogue at the location sound? Quickly, people need to answer me now. Who will be the first one who will name the microphone, which is a very popular microphone used for the location
Sennheiser.
sound? Say again?
Sennheiser.
Sennheiser is the name of a company, my dear friend. I'm asking a model.
Sennheiser microphones.
Model number.
Model number.
Sennheiser make 100 kind of microphones.
MK.
Now that's where the difference would come between student A versus B. It's MKH 416. It should be like somebody said, Ritom said MKH 416. So that should be the clear answer. There's a MKH 417 also, but MKH 416 is a star microphone. And if I'll now ask this another question, which is the star headphone which is used for the location sound? Quickly, please write down the answer over here quickly. Of course, everybody will have a different choice. It cannot be 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. But when people ask you a question quickly, it means your answer should be tucked. Like somebody said, MKH 416. This is called precision. You're not beating around the bush. Earlier, somebody said Schneider. Yes, that's a 50% of the answer. But which model? Schneider make more than 50 models. So how precise and quick you are, that is where you score over other people. That's the point number one. Point number two is the softwares. Today, everything is software oriented. Gone are the days when there used to be big studios for musician playing music over there and sound getting recorded and all that kind of a thing. Everything has become condensed now. Today, it is the card which can be fitted into a computer, and that's the way people are used to now. So smaller the things, better it is today, because the space has reduced in terms of the cards, graphic cards and other kind of cards, sound recording cards, which cost 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakhs. Up to 10 lakh, the card would go. Just a simple card would cost 10 lakh rupees. So you should be familiar with these various software in terms of name, in terms of basic difference, Pro Tool, Nuendo, Cubase, Ableton. These are the Cubase. These are the 4 or 5 names which I've just mentioned. But if they ask you, let's say, for example, which is the most popular software for electronic music production, for example. So you should have some understanding what is the difference between just a recording software and electronic music production software. So those kind of technicalities can be asked. They would be also interested about the various companies which make these kind of software. If it is, let's say, Cubase, then is it a name of a company or is it a name of a software? Both are two different things. Name of a company is different thing and name of a software is a different thing. So you should be very, very clear in terms of the name of the software, the version, which version is there in the market today. So these are the technical things in terms of surface knowledge, though it is being checked in the written exam, but still they can ask it. Okay, that's another thing. So for example, now I'll get back to little more specific. Let's say microphone. Now, if I ask you, if you need to record the tabla in the studio, which particular microphone you would use, and what kind of microphone it will be. So kind means whether the condenser microphone, whether the shotgun microphone, type in terms of technicalities, and obviously the brand which you will prefer to use it. So if you're thorough with these kind of information, you have a better score over your competitors. I'm using the word competitor. Remember, it is 1:3. It is 33% probability is there to get selected so far. So now you need to add the 66% more to be inside over there. So technicalities, the various popular microphones available in the market. As we talked about MKH 416, then there's a other company, Shure is one other company, then there is a Ahuja, it look like an Indian company. So certain companies which are very popular in terms of manufacturing the microphone, what kind of microphone people are using, those kind of a thing. Then comes the headphone. So if I ask you, when you go as a technical person, if I ask you 3 important parameters you would look into it while buying a microphone, headphone. What are those 3 important parameters which distinguish the cost and price of a one headphone from another? So now we have roughly around 15 people. So anybody would like to tell me quickly the three parameters? You can write it down and message me in the chat box rather than just speaking by unmuting yourself. 3 important parameters you would look for buying a headphone of a professional quality. I'm still waiting for frequency range, impedance, and comfort. Okay. Frequency response, impedance, and drivers. Impedance, sound driver, noise cancellation. Very good. Somebody has added one more point. So impedance obviously is a one factor. Range, Frequency range is another factor. Noise cancellation is equally important. And driver, somebody said, okay. So impedance is something which is common. Okay, frequency range is something which is everybody has said common. Third could be the comfort. Third could be some more technical parameters. Somebody said driver. Somebody said open back and close back, etc., etc. So two things which were common in most of the answer, which is the frequency range and then the impedance. And that is what these two parameters determine the. So they might ask you, which is your favorite one? Okay, so you will come out with a particular name. Okay, this is a mic, this is a headphone which many of the people uses, or at least I prefer to use this one. So that could be the one possibility. What kind of assignment you will get in a sound design? That somebody asked me when we were talking in the morning. Now this is a very, very tricky question. Very often, one of the interview which I will send it across to you, when the war is happening, for example, there are variety of sounds you will hear in a war. Suppose there is a film called Padmavat, which is based in a particular period, and or Panipat for that matter, and there's a war sequence. What kind of sound design you would do for a film which is based on a 16th century war or 17th century war? 20th century war would be different than obviously 16th century, because those times the technology was not that driven as it is today. So war sequence of today and war sequence of 16th century, what kind of difference would be there in terms of sound design? Let's say, for example, so this is a one offhand question I could think of. Then how do you stylize a sound design? Or how do you stylize a sound in general? For example, in that interview which I was talking about, this when in the end there's a particular sequence when Ranveer Singh goes into the water and he throws that weapon into the air, and you hear a different kind of sound which is not actually true, the realistic sound, but actually it is a little stylized. How you use those plugins to modify that sound or to twist that sound, or exact term is something else which I'm not able to recollect as of today. But there's a particular how you process, that's the word, process that sound to sound it more realistic, at the same time more appealing. How that sound could be more appealing to your audio experience inside the auditorium. Okay, so sound design could be related to this particular question which I just said, but it could be about anything on the road, for example, maybe underwater. If you watch a film which Rasool Pukuti did, I don't remember the name exactly. I think it is a Blue, which was so much of underwater thing is there. Why I like that particular film? Because of the sound design point. Because I did scuba diving in Bahamas and Caribbean for 9 months after graduating from FTII for a longer project. So once you dive under the water, only sound you hear is the bubbling sound of your breathing. You know, the bubbles which goes, that breathing sound is there. Beside that, there is no sound. But how many of you have been under the water and who knows exactly this particular fact which I just told you? Okay. So you could still end certain kind of sound which do not exist in reality. Now that's where your creativity comes. So if somebody like me who's also watching that film, and somebody, or rather I would say out of 2,000 or 1,000 people inside the auditorium, 999 may not be a scuba diver or may not have gone underwater, except the swimming pool for that matter. Yes, swimming pool is something which is more or less similar experience like what you have. But in a swimming pool, you don't do the scuba diving. Swimming pool, you just go down the water and you get the feel. But you are more busy in swimming rather than to experience that sound. But if you are scuba diving, you're not swimming. You are doing the diving and you're moving around here and there. So your ears are equally important. So that kind of situation can be asked. A situation which is, let's say, for example, in a plane which is being, the pilot has announced that there is a problem in the engine and they have emergency landing going to happen. So what kind of sound design would have at that given point of a time? So film like which Ram Advani did with this Nirja, which is about aeroplane thing. So you need to understand what kind of sound design can happen, and you need to imagine those sounds which would be going on over there at that particular point. Maybe it is much more of an engine sound. Maybe it is more of a sound which is of a wind which is hitting the plane, because there may be a hole from one particular point where things have gone haywire. So it's more of realistic plus a part which is not realistic but imaginative. So imaginative and realistic both combined together would add to the sound design. So NH10, which Sahu did the film, and as I said that film has a particular kind of a sound design. 2, 3 example he has quoted. I will send it across to you, those examples also, so that you should be able to understand the nitty-gritty of that sound design situations. He has described the two particular situations from the NH10 that you should be able to understand. So that's one. I don't know how many of you were there yesterday, because that was a different class. I have a question which I asked yesterday. I'm again asking. In the feature film today, even this practice is continuing on the set. When you are about to take a shot, you say everybody is ready, and then you say going for take, roll sound, and then you say roll camera. And then clapper boy would come and will announce the detail, shot number, scene number, take number, and clap and goes out. And then the action, some assistant director would say, and then actor would start. So my question is, why it is so that they say roll sound first and not roll camera? This is my question. You can unmute yourself and answer this question. No need to write down, if you know it.
Because the clapper sound also can be recorded in the sound rolling. So while distinguishing or the post-processing work, the
No, my question is, please, this is what you need to understand. All of you, all 15 people need to understand the question first. If you don't understand the question, if you answer irrelevant things, you're gone. My question is, why roll sound is said first rather than roll camera? This is my question.
Right, so that basically in post-production we sync the audio with the video, right? So the objective is to ensure that the video has usable audio so that there's no delay. So when in post-production, when the sync sound is happening,
No,
uh,
answer is no. You're going
sorry.
on.
Sir, so
Clap would come later on. If I say roll camera first, camera start rolling, then I will say roll sound, sound start rolling, and then the clapping sound come and the clap comes. So by that time, both the hands of the clap come. That is the point where you sync the audio and video. So in both the cases, audio and video, you will still be able to sync. Can you see me? Hello, guys. Hello. Can anybody can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So this is a live example what is going to happen with you people. Which means if your system is connected with the Wi-Fi and if you don't have your mobile as a plan B device ready over there, this is what's going to happen. Okay. So make sure that you are connected with the device at the time of your orientation and interview, that which will not depend upon the electricity thing. You should be able to have, you can have a laptop like the way I am having, but at the same time, once again, hello. So if something like that happened, which happened just now, you should not be in a trouble. So my question remains same. Who is going to answer my question? Why we say roll sound first and not roll camera first?
Sir, because there are many microphone at the set, and we need to check first. If we start rolling camera first, then we have still a lot of footage.
No,
Won't
no,
waste
no,
if
wrong
anything
track.
wrong.
Wrong. Anybody else?
So the camera footage, so that the
Okay.
camera footage can be used
Right.
effectively. Like the film
No,
can be
no,
used.
no. In both the cases, camera footage can be used effectively. Whether you say roll sound first or roll camera first. It's a question of common sense. Provided, of course, it's not just common sense, it's a very important parameter involved into it, which I would say that the cost of raw stock of 400 feet can is of 12,000 rupees. And the cost of magnetic tape is much cheaper. So when you say roll sound, sound start rolling, and maybe for 5 seconds or 7 seconds or 10 seconds, 10-second footage of 35 mm negative will cost much more higher than the sound recording. So you say roll sound first so that you will save on the cost of rolling the 35 mm negative. Okay. So that is the true answer, but it doesn't matter. There are many questions like this which can be asked, and depend upon your interest or understanding, it will keep varying, but doesn't matter. Okay, so that's one thing. Let me come to something very interesting, which everybody should be having some experience or other, or if not, then at least should have, and that is the setup of a sound recording studio. So suppose in your house, one of the room is lying empty and you wanted to set it up acoustically treated sound recording studio. So what are the things you will take care of it in terms of the sound recording acoustically treated studio? So my question is that. Now, who would answer quickly first?
Sir,
2, 3,
internal
4, something like
reflection.
that. Okay. Point number 1, point
Uh,
number 2, point number 3.
Point number
Okay.
1, internal reflection between walls. Point number 2, the noise coming from the outside the room. And point number 3 is the signal interpretation due to a multiple electronic device inside the room.
Anybody else? How you will make acoustically treated your room into a sound recording studio? First thing is that. What are the steps you will use to make your room as a acoustically treated room?
Shielding the room so that it becomes soundproof. Like for example, in sound recording studios, there are basically anechoic chambers that deflect the electromagnetic rays, and the way the studios are built is when the rays are absorbed so that no sound could be gone outside. So I think shielding the entire room completely and making it
How
sound.
you do the shielding?
I think sort of making a setting like something similar to an anechoic chamber.
How you would do it?
So basically mimicking the design of the chamber, putting those triangular foam shields on the wall so that the
What is that
sound
foam
in the
sheet? Triangular foam sheet, you said triangular is not necessary. It could be any kind of shape.
right.
So what is that made of? The
I'm
answer
not
is,
exactly sure.
okay, you are not exactly because you don't know. This is the
Right.
difference. When you don't know, you would beat around the bush. And when you know, actually, you will say specifically. First of all, the thing which you are going to use is the glass wool. It's the most important thing to make a sound recording studio soundproof. Because your reflection of the sound should not be there, and hence first what you need to do is treat the walls, all walls as well as ceiling, through something called glass wool. Glass wool is nothing but it is a cushion rui kind of a thing made of a yellow, which has a variety of density. For example, it could have a 16, 24, 35, 50 mm. They call it as a kilogram meter cube. That is the density of the glass wool. Is recording will vary. It is not very expensive thing, but that's the key thing object make your studio as a soundproof. So glass wool is the most important thing which is going to be used. A. Before that, you need to do the waterproofing of the wall by putting some kind of material on which you put the charcoal. Charcoal is first you do it, then you put the glass wool over there into various frames. Frame could be made of a wooden, and then you decorate with a colorful cloth, and then fit some decorative material to hold those cloths over there. You might have seen various. This is a normal, non-expensive way. Then expensive way is then you buy some. There are various companies which make these kind of thing, which has a primarily the same element which will absorb the sound, and sound absorbing material is required to make your room acoustically treated. But we also do take care of, let's say, for example, frequency response. Sometimes you need to cut down the low frequency, sometimes you need to the frequency. Accordingly, there are various panels you will make. Sometimes you use a different kind of clothes also. So that's one thing. So as I said that when you need to build a sound recording studio, most important thing is to treat walls, which means you need to use the glass wool as the most important material to be put up into the various panels of those wooden thing, and then you need to treat those walls like that. And then as I just told you, so these are the simple things which they can ask you, because if studio is something where you will work, and if you don't know about the glass wool, none of you 15 people who are here, 14 people who are here, use the word glass wool. That is the key word. And Google works on a keyword. How you're searching? Keyword. Film school in India, keyword is film school in India. So keyword is glass wool. Glass wool has a property of absorbing the sound. Depend upon the density of glass wool, what kind of density you need, required, what kind of absorption is required in terms of C response, we call it. So that's the most important thing. Obviously, sound outside should not to come inside. Inside sound should not be able to go outside. So there are very thick doors over there, etc., etc., and some vibration and many more things. So if you ask me one word, then it is the glass wool. So you should be quickly able to say that it is the glass wool that is required for the wall treatment of a sound recording studio. So this is one thing I just quickly thought of telling you. Then comes the various kind of, other, let's say for if you have a 4 and a sound recording studio inside a house, your 10 by 10 studio going to. So what kind of equipment you are going to buy within the 4 lakh rupees? That's my question. Very thorough in terms of the basic element. You could say, oh, I mixer, I need monitors, I need computer system, I need Mac because I prefer this, and I need this
Sir,
particular
your voice
software.
is
These
very
are the software. Can you hear me now?
no, sir. It's very
Okay.
unclear. It's very not possible. Sorry.
The signal issue is I can't help much because that case, and hopefully you should be able to hear it. So in any case, I would be doing if I'm recording this on a cloud. So just it remind me, let me just check. Okay, recording is going on. So hopefully there would be a sound recorded on the system, on the cloud of this Zoom, and you should be able to hear that better. So what I'm saying is that which are those essential things you must have in the studio. So you could say the mixer, what particular mixer you would look at it, what kind of system you would look into it, what kind of thing. So some pricing idea roughly. I'm not saying exact price, but some idea that I need a mixer, I need this kind of microphone, how many microphone would be required. So you should be quickly able to be able, for example, if I give you 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and it's okay, you are off for 10 minutes, quickly make a list of the equipment you will be requiring recording studio, and it should fall within a budget of 4 lakh, and email us within 15 minutes time. So if you go to Google and try to figure it out, don't do that. Right now, since I so then it's very important. Yes, I don't don't make the students. Sorry, there is a consistent problem is going on. Okay, so can you hear me now? Hello, can somebody respond? Can you hear me? Hello,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can.
Okay, so that kind of question can also be asked. You make a table and send an email to us. So that would be another possibility. They might show you a clipping. Okay. Again, I'm talking about from sound design point of view. Then they might choose a particular clipping from somewhere and ask you what kind of sounds are being used in the sound design. Rather than leaving you to figure it out, they might give you a particular clipping to hear it on the spot over there, and not to give you on an email and listen to it and then do it. No, they might play it over there, and then they will ask you to write down about the sound design in certain number of words and send them email within a 15 minutes time. So that could be another possibility in terms of the sound design thing. So as I said, that the mixer you should be familiar with, whether it's a 4-channel, 6-channel location mixers. Let's say, for example, they might ask you and name any company which is popular for 6-channel mixer. It's the information, but that will help me to understand your interest. Anybody quickly can mention over there name of the company which manufactures 6-channel mixer
Yamaha.
for a location. Name of the company is not enough. Model is important. Company plus model. So now 15 people who are being shortlisted, they are still thinking. You got my point? So somebody who is quick would be able to answer it, would score over the others. Certain question would be in a group like this. So they will understand whether you know it or not. And obviously it will be in the chat box. Okay, so if somebody says particular thing, if you are not sure and if you copy and paste and also mention the same thing, then you have disqualified yourself. It is better to be 0 than minus. Remember, okay? So, for example, somebody is much more familiar and he has been using it. He might say, let's say, for example, Esden. Esden is a company which is very popular for the 6-channel microphone. Mixer. So it could be Esden, it could be any other company. There are 10 companies. When you search in the market, go to the Google and search, you will figure it out. It's not a big deal. So my point is that you should be thorough with the name of the model, name of the mixer, because this is how, see, technology is going to be used for your aesthetical consideration. You cannot record the sound in air. You cannot mix the sound in air. You have to mix it on a computer or a gadget or some instrument. So which means the name of the company and model comes to it, and why. There's also a reason why I will prefer to use this rather than this one. Okay. So all these things are important in terms of understanding. They might ask you about few sound recordists whom you have observed or seen the videos, and what particular film you like and why do you like. Choose a particular sequence and describe what is so interesting about the sound. Now, I'll just tell you one example from my FTII days. We saw one film by Akira Kurosawa and we came out. I was from the cinematography department. And there was a boy called Johnny. He's a big name in sound design and sound recording world today. Johnny. So Johnny, we were talking in general, and Johnny mentioned about a particular sequence when this character comes out and he has come to know that he has a disease and he will not live long. And when he's on the road, so what do you hear? You hear the sounds of the traffic going and coming. But in that particular sequence, you don't hear any sound, and which I did not notice because I come from cinematography. I will notice more of the cinematography and a couple of other things. But this thing was unnoticed by me. In that particular scene, the sound was completely off. There was no sound at all. It was completely silence, as if that man is lost into the world of his own. And even if he is on the traffic and he's on the road, but you don't hear any sound for almost 10 seconds. And then he comes back to the real world. So what I mean to say is, you could choose any, like a kind of similar thing that was seen in a Rockstar too. So yes, it may be there also, because you may get inspired from anywhere, and not everybody is going to notice that, oh, it was there in Kurosawa's that film, and Akiru, for example, and then why it is there, maybe in some other film. So you need to be very specific when the people ask you that, okay, it is going to be like this. So you could choose something like that which appeals to you from sound design point of view, even if it means the complete silence. As I just said, it could be stylized sound of any kind of, let's say, for example, gunning or revolver for that matter. Now, revolver, there's no standard mathematical thing that 2 plus 2 equal to 4. Revolver may sound different, but how interesting it sound in the sound design is what is the job of a sound designer, that it should appeal to the audience when you mix the final track and when you present it to the students. So that's my point of view. And since it is almost 2:50, so 10 minutes I am leaving to you people to ask any question, and then once Bishwadeep will come, I suggest and request everyone to switch on or video on the audio writing to there, ask your question also. Somebody has there. We will just send out to them during the interview. Yes, there could be a possibility. And they might ask you anything which you have done in terms of sound design. Send us any short film of 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, not more than 10 minutes, because nobody's going to watch the 10-minute film over there. But yes, they might ask you of sound design from any of your short film which you would have done, or a ad film for that matter, or it could be a music video also. It could be anything. But my anticipation is that they would give you a particular assignment, and then they would ask you to submit that assignment. So that way you may not say, okay, since I didn't do any film and hence I'm not able to do it. So probably that could be the reason. So if we do not have a portfolio, we are new. Yes, obviously you are new, but you could have made a small portfolio of, let's say, for example, for that, and you can mention in the beginning that this is a situation like this, and this is my sound particular situation like this. This is my suppose somebody died, for example, if now, and I come to know my father is no more, for example, then what kind of interaction I'm going to still continue, or whether I'll go off. If I'll go off, what could be my discussion on the phone, and what kind of a sound. So any situation can be given to the UP. If it is a complex list, which is the interior inside any location, which could be a building, which could be a house, which could be a factory, and there's the outside. Outside also has a variety of situation. One could be very quiet, peaceful, like near the river or mountains, etc. Quieter place. And then there could be a place which is a marketplace, or there could be another place which is a semi kind of a situation. It could be outdoor of a school, it could be a balcony of a school, it could be a corridor of a school, it could be anything. So depend upon they are into the business for many years, and can be, that is what I'm telling you. In the school, let's say, for example, there are various stations which are outdoor, indoor. Indoor could be within the corridor, indoor could be a auditorium, indoor could be a classroom, indoor could be a principal's room, indoor could be a meeting room, indoor could be anything. And outdoor, again, as I said, the corridor, football ground, canteen, cafeteria, just near the gate, main gate. So depend upon the situation, they would describe it, and very throughout the year they are doing it. Remember it, and they are not doing it for 1 year. They are doing it for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. So they must have written down all those situations which may not strike in your mind, which may not strike in my mind, but yes, they knows it for sure that something like that could be asked, and they are already prepared. Only people who are not prepared are you people. So I would suggest that it's a high time, particularly it's only 33% as of now. 66% you need to add to your qualification to be inside FTI or SR-FTI. And if you will not work every day from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. in the night, at least 12 hours you need to devote for your preparation. Like as I see, 20 people signed up, 15 people are here. The 6 people have gone for a walk. So it doesn't matter. Why to waste 200 rupees even? Go and have a coffee or something else. So it's just a matter of sincerity. Many of you may be just traveling, for example, and switch off their mobile. You could still hear me. Some people who don't show up here, it's their problem. It's not my problem. And mind you, there are limited number of seats, actually 10 in each course. So what will be the process during the orientation and interview for being selected for FTI and SR-FTI? How and where will be placement for further both the campuses? There is no placement. As I told in the classes, you have to find your own placements. And process, as I said, that there will be interaction, group interaction, then there will be an individual interaction. With all these 3 to 4, I suppose 4 people who will be in the interview panel. 2 will be from 2 different faculties, one from SR-FTI, one from FTI. One would be from expert outside. There could be two outside expert also. There could be two faculty from FTII, two from SRFTI. Depend upon their choice and interest. But definitely 3 people are going to be there for sure. It could be 4 also and 5 also. And then group interaction and individual interaction. Interaction is much more important, but at the same time, group interaction is also important. Now this PPP is coming. So what I need to do is I need to find out my torch and do my lighting with the torch. And that's it. This is plan B. So anyway, let me just see if I could be better seen. So this is the way it is. And as I said, now I look like a horror film actor, but these are all emergency management. So this is my answer. Does the orientation interview process take in a day? No, it will continue because in one day they cannot zero in each and everybody. So this will be for 3 to 4 days, and 5th day would be interview. 3 or 4 days would be orientation, and everybody would be given roughly around 20 to 30 minutes for sure. And in that 30 minutes, they will determine whether you are in or out. Okay. So this is my answer. And if anybody has any other question, you can ask. I am still here. As long as the Bishwadeep will be here, I think he would be joining soon. Let me see among these names, if I could see his name. Okay. So this is still, you can ask any other question if you have in your mind. But yes, more precise you are, more specific you are, more chances you have. Both, this is a course in which technical and aesthetics are equally important, not just the technicals, but equally the aesthetic part. And aesthetic sometimes is very difficult to define. There are certain kind of sounds, how you define those sounds. This is a very important thing. I have realized this when I interviewed people, because they describe those sound in a very, very specific manner. And it is really interesting to note down how they describe. There's always a name for a particular kind of a sound, you know. So you get familiar with a variety of sound, how you describe them in your words, in English language. अब swish swish करते रहोगे तो उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है until unless you have a specific name. This is, please note down this name, this thing which I just mentioned, how you would describe the exact term to define that particular kind of a sound. This is something which I am also writing down for my understanding. Sound name. The exact term which is used Hello. Can you
Hello.
hear? Yeah, Bishwadeep.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Here there's a little problem that because the light has gone and I am connected with that thing. So I'll just pin your video. That will be a good idea so that people can see you. So I have pinned your video. Yeah, okay, wonderful. Hello, everybody. Can you hear it?
Yes,
Guys, kindly switch on your videos as I requested earlier so that it will become more interactive class rather than just talking to the wall, though I'm used to, but it will be a good idea if you could physically switch on your mobile phone as well as unmute yourself so that you can interact with Bishwadeep. Bishwadeep is a graduate from FTII Pune, as most of you must be knowing it, and I've already sent his profile to you people yesterday. So, Vishnudeep, it's up to you how you would like to carry on this session for this another 1 hour. My only question is that suppose you are into a selection panel for these students who are aspiring for FTII, what kind of question you're going to ask them?
Okay. Can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah, very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, basically, all you guys are applying for sound in this batch.
yes, sir.
They have been selected, shortlisted, the written exam, and now they will be facing.
Okay. Because I will want to know, first of all, we would want to know that why are you choosing sound? Is there anything that you've done in sound before? If not, then this place is not expecting you to know everything about sound, but at least you should understand what you're applying for. So, is there anything that you have done that you would like to show in your, if there's any amateur recording also you have done, that will be something which you can play to them. Or if there's any YouTube material and stuff like that that you have worked on the sound and you want to use it as a kind of a profile that you would want to show, that is also welcome. They'll understand uh, where you're coming from and what your intentions are. And for those who have not done anything and they've just applied for sound, I don't have a feedback, because what happens is, like, when you're interviewing a candidate, then you see the biodata of the candidate and you ask him depending on the candidate's thing. So the questions will be basically about what you have done. Are there people who have done something in sound? How many people are freshers? They have not they want to learn sound recording and sound engineering but have no idea of what it is for film. Are there students like that? Okay, you can answer me, because I won't be able to go through all the chats.
You can.
Okay, as an orientation, what I will
Anyway, you can.
what I will tell you is the premise. I mean, they will show you. I think in orientation, they show you various clips of films. They talk about camera. They talk about sound. They talk about editing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about sound. What we are expected to learn from FTII. So basically, when you're watching a film, it's called audio visual. So audio is usually 50% almost of whatever visual that we are seeing in film. Film Institute is a place which is more, the training of sound students over there is mostly film oriented. So in that you learn recording on location. The kind of recorders that they use on location are specialized digital recorders these days, multi-track digital recorders these days, which they are using. They use specialized microphones like lapel microphones. They use boom microphones, and they are highly directive. These microphones are highly directive, and you pinpoint. They can pinpoint the source for which. I mean, suppose there's a character who's saying the dialogue, you can point the microphone to that particular person and pick up the signals from a distance away without picking up too much of your external noise. So these are highly directional boom microphones which are used for recording. Lapel mics are radio mics which are attached to the actor or the person who is speaking to the camera, and they are usually hidden for feature film, for fictional films. And these are recorded. This is called the sync or location track, or this whole process is called production sound. There are 3 stages in any filmmaking. One is pre-production, where they plan for the film. Then there is production, which is the actual shoot or the execution of the film, like the shooting process. And then there's post-production. So pre-production involves budgeting, कि कौन से location पे जाना है, कैसे करना है. Then what is the story? Depending on that, they select professionals, they select locations where they're going to shoot, and they also go for recce. Recce is a term which means that the unit, the core unit, the director, the DOP or the director of photography, जिसको बोलते हैं camera person, and the sound engineer, the production sound engineer, goes over there and they gauge or study the location, how it is going to be in the day, how it is going to look in the night. And for the sound person, they have to go and see, is it a very noisy location? Is it possible to record on that? What are the precautions that one can take while recording sounds in these particular locations? So that is the pre-production part. The production part is when you have actually done all your research and you've gone there and you've shot. Either you're shooting in a controlled environment, like in a set, or you're shooting on location, like suppose near the highway or in a park or some open area or some house in some gully. So you have to understand that how noisy that location is, and that also enables you to select your equipment accordingly. And once the recording process is done, then the shooting process is done. Then they come for film editing. Now, in the editing, what happens is they select the okay takes. They select the takes which are okay, which they say कि यालो अच्छा इसमें थोड़ा गड़बड़ हो गया, एक्टर का लाइन बोलने में थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम आ गया, लाइंस में कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ गया, कुछ टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम आ गया. So these are some of the reasons which you can say कि चलो ये disturbance आया है या there's something wrong with it. You select the okay takes on locations. Now in that okay take also there could be some disturbances like electronic noise or some other factors, other noisy factors can come in. So then we go into the process called ADR or dubbing. ADR मतलब automated dialogue replacement हम लोग बोलते हैं. So it's called ADR in today's times. Earlier we used to call it dubbing. तो इसमें क्या होता है कि the dialogues which are spoken on location, if they're not very clear, the actor dubs those lines. मतलब with the picture, he repeats those lines in a controlled environment like a studio. So the process is called dubbing. So then there is this process comes after the dialogues are cleaned. Location mein there are softwares which clean dialogues. Like suppose there is a noisy location, I can eliminate noise through proper software. I can eliminate or reduce noise to a bare minimum. Even after that, if there is a disturbance in the dialogues, we go and do the dubbing of the actor. Once the dubbing is done, then we mix the dub dialogues and whatever is spoken on location in production sound. So these two dialogues are matched, their tonalities have to be matched, so they don't appear like this is dubbed or this is there should not be any difference between the sounds that are recorded on location and the dubbing that you're doing. The tone of the actor, the selection of your microphones, all these things will matter. Also, what happens is when you're going on location, when you're recording, there is a certain noise of the record of the location which is always there around us. You know, in whichever location you are, whether you're in your house, whether you're in the office, whether you're out on the street, there is always a constant noise that goes around. That is called the ground noise, or that is called the room tone also. We call it the room tone. Like if you keep quiet and listen to your room, there are certain noises like, you know, कहीं दूर से टीवी बज रहा है, कहीं AC की आवाज आ रही है, कहीं पंखे की आवाज आ रही है. So these are sounds that are there on location. Now what we do is after each scene is shot, we record only these sounds. There is a reason for why we are doing that. Because जब हम dubbing करते हैं, that time we are recording it in a clean environment in a studio where there is no noise. तो ऐसा नहीं हो कि आपका नॉइजी लोकेशन है, फिर सडनली क्लीन डायलॉग आ गया, फिर then there will be a jump. So we add this little bit of noise, extra noise, or the location room tone that we have recorded to the dubbing track to make it seem like, you know, that the person is in that location only. So there's a whole process over here called dialogue editing. So that is as far as the dialogues are concerned. Then we have effects recording. Now there are two types of recordings. One is non-sync effects and one is sync effects. Non-sync or atmospheric effects, जिसको हम sound design भी आजकल बोलते हैं. Those effects, non-sync वाला जो होता है, जैसे बारिश, thunder, aircraft flying. So these are sounds that you can add on your tracks. They don't have to be in sync with the visual. They can appear anytime I'm talking to you. There can be a thunder that can happen. There could be rain happening outside. Or there could be traffic sounds outside. There could be a random ambulance going by. You know, these are sounds that are atmospheric sounds. So then we have, so these are atmospheric sounds which creates the environment of that location. Like if you're sitting in a railway station, then you have the sounds of a railway station. Then you have announcements, you have trains passing by, you have train horns happening, you have various types of trains happening. You have a diesel engine, you have an electric train, you have local trains, you have passenger trains, you have goods trains. So ऐसे सारे बहुत trains के different sounds होते हैं. So depending on the situation, you can put these sounds and make it look like you're sitting in the railway station. So these are sounds that you have to keep adding, because ये dialogue recording के time पे हमेशा possible नहीं होता है कि अलग से ये sound record करें. So we need to add these sounds to create the geography of the location. It could be the airport, it could be a railway station, it could be a traffic signal, it could be somebody's house. It could be a different city. Like if you were recording in Kolkata, then you have sounds like the tram. The sounds are different in Kolkata than in Delhi, than in Mumbai. So you have to understand that which city, which country you're recording, your situation is based on. And then you take the sounds of that particular locality or that country or the city, and then you justify it with your sound, laying those particular soundtracks. So this is called non-sync or atmospheric sounds or sound design. Then you have sync sounds. Jैसे when you're walking, then there are the sounds of the footsteps. So these are artificially created sounds in a studio, which is called Foley sounds. If you look up Google, and Foley was the person who first started this, Jack Foley or something his name. I just Google the name, you'll find it. He is the guy who realized that, you know, सिर्फ dialogue बोलने से नहीं होगा. You have to justify कि ये आदमी चल के जा रहा है, तो there has to be a sound of his footsteps. Is he walking on, what is the surface he's walking on? He's walking on gravel, or he's walking on a wooden floor, or he's walking carpeted floor. So these are sounds that हम लोग अलग से record करते हैं. Then even things like, you know, when you're pouring tea or coffee, and then drinking chai, and then keeping the cup and saucers, and then you know, opening the door. You know, these are things that you're doing in sync with the picture. That's why they're called sync effects recording or Foley recording. So we have these two types of effects that are integrated into the film along with the dialogue. So you have the chunk of non-sync or atmospheric sounds. You have Foley recording sounds. You also have your dialogue track. Then comes the music. The music composer creates music. We call it background music or film score. film score I think is a more apt word, but यहाँ पे हम लोग इंडिया में ज्यादातर उसको we refer to it as background music. Now there should not be any confusion between background music and sound design. A lot of people think that background music का मतलब every sound that you hear in the film is background music. No, music is music. It is made of musical notes. So when a sad scene is happening or a happy scene is happening, there are music. You can make out from the music that that it's a very happy scene. You can either hear a piano or a violin, something complementing that particular situation in the film. So then the music is recorded. Then you have, in very particular to our culture, is the Hindi film songs. So song recording is a different chapter altogether, because song recording usually happens before the film is shot. Then the director records the song with the music director. They decide, अच्छा ऐसे गाना होगा और उसको हम ऐसे shoot करेंगे. So this happens more or less before the shoot, and after the shoot happens, then on the edit they place the song in the editing room and they cut the visuals accordingly. So then you have your dialogue tracks, your atmospheric sound effects, you have your Foley, and you have background music, and then you have songs. So these are the elements that are compiled together, and they are mixed in the right proportion, so that when a film is made, then these are the sounds that are going to be coming along with the film. What the dialogue is going to be, and how we process the dialogues, how we clean the dialogues is something that is our job for the next 3 years. You will have to learn. But this is the premise. When you're seeing a film, try and listen to the sound as well. If you're seeing certain films, listen to it, whether it is a Hindi film, whether it is a European film, whether it's a Hollywood film, whether it's any regional film also, you can listen to the sounds, you can listen to the dialogues, and you can see how, if you can read between the lines, you can see how subtly even sound design works in order to create a particular drama. Are there any questions? Have I laid out the premise so far?
Would you like to tell them, let's say, for example, any situation which comes to your mind in terms of, let's say, for example, the sound design? What kind of sound design you may ask for a particular situation? You mentioned very clearly and very interestingly the variety of engines which will pass on a railway station. So would be any something like that which comes to your mind immediately? For example, which these students can work in between when the orientation start and now, that any situation which comes to your mind which they should think about?
I'm saying suppose it's a scene from 1930s.
Okay.
1930s का एक scene है जहाँ एक आदमी खड़ा है एक train के लिए. What will be the sound of the engine over there?
Correct.
It cannot be an electric engine. It cannot be a diesel engine. It has to be a steam engine.
Correct.
So you have to take care of to understand what era this film is about. Is it a period film? What era? So if it's a period film of the 1920s, even 60s, the steam engines were quite popular.
True.
70s onwards, the transition to electric locomotives and diesel locomotives had started. 70s, 80s, say. But largely in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even to some extent in the 80s, steam engines were very popular. So you have to take care of those kind of things. What are the sounds? What was the whistle of a steam engine?
Correct.
So these are things that you have to keep in mind. So that is one example. Then are there any questions regarding sound that you don't know or would want to know?
Ritam has raised the hand. So Ritam, can you ask your question, please?
Yeah, sir. So you explained about the various types of sounds which are present in a movie, but
Yeah.
who does like, for example, the sound designer is like he does the non-sync effects and all whatever you told. The Foley artist does the sync sounds. So what is the function of a studio recordist, or who does the song, like the song recording you told in Indian movies? Who composes the song? Is it the same person who composes the background score, or is
No,
it
that is
a different?
that's the confusion I wanted to kill, because sound designer does not compose the music. There may be some instances where the sound designer is also a music composer, but that is not how it is usually. Because See, the sound designer is the person. Like today, I'm the sound designer of a film, means it's equivalent to being the director of sound of a film, director of audiography. जैसे director of photography होता है, we don't have a title called director of audiography, but it can be. But for us, it is the sound designer. In Hollywood, they sometimes say supervising sound designer, supervising sound editor. That is also a title given to them. Now there are various stages. Now the person who does location sound recording, he specializes in location sound recording. He goes on to location. Like I don't go on to location. I have done that very early on in my career, but then location recording is not something that I chose. I chose song and music recording. So most of my about 15 years after graduating from FTII, I was mostly doing recording songs and music. So after that, I decided to go into sound design. When I realized that, I thought there was a little more creative involvement in designing the kind of sounds I would want to put, the kind of thought process that we have while designing a sound of a film, of a particular situation. So to answer your question, there are various types of sound engineers. One is the location sound recordist or production sound engineer, who's on location recording the dialogues. Then you have the music recording engineer, who in a music recording studio is recording songs. So earlier we used to have proper music recording setups, but today what happens is most of the music composers have their own studios, and many of the music this one.
So Bishwadeep, when you said that music recording engineers, they
Yeah.
are primarily the studio recording people
So
who
there are
does the recording inside the studio.
Yeah, there are different types of studios.
Yeah.
So except for the location recording person who's not recording inside a recording studio, the music recording engineer is working in the music studio. Okay, the sound designer is working in the sound editor is working in a sound editing or sound designing studio, sound editing studio. So in the studio, we sit and we record sounds in the studio. Like we are creating sounds in the studio. We are from our libraries. We are taking sounds of traffic, sounds of machine guns, sounds of tanks. I cannot, like for example, we need to have libraries of sound. I cannot go and ask the soldier, "Bhai, tu goli chala jara, main record karta hu." He'll shoot me. So I need to have. So I have a library of guns which has AK-47, which has 9mm, which has 12 bore, which has Winchester rifles. So all these categories of sounds are there, which I have downloaded and bought. So these are sounds that we use. Like suppose if somebody is shooting with an AK-47, then I choose the AK-47 and put it over there. Or if I'm showing this person in a jungle, then I have some of my own recordings and some from the library. So together we edit those sounds, we create a particular sound from various sound elements. And this is the job that we do sitting inside the studio. Sometimes I go out to record certain sounds. If it is location specific, I want to go and record certain sounds so that I can include that in my sound design. So I'm working in my studio and doing the sound design and sound editing in my studio. So that's the second guy in the studio. First is, I told you, the music guy. Second is the sound designing guy. And third is the dubbing engineer, the guy who sits and dubs the dialogues. So there is a person who is working only in dubbing studios. So that is one job. And then the other job is the mixing engineer, who again is in the recording studio. What all of us have recorded and designed, the mixing engineer sits and balances all the sounds in the right proportion. Now, in my case, what happens is I usually supervise the entire thing. It is in my, so even if the mix engineer mixes the thing, I give him the material to mix. I tell him that this is what I'm looking at. So I am taking on a lot of the director's headache also, my side. But this happens only after a certain level of seniority and when you have proved yourself in a certain sense. But what usually happens is, like, after the sound editing is done, and if it's a senior sound mixer, then he sits and he kind of goes through the whole files, and then he tells you that, okay, let's have this or let's not have this. And he tries to mix whatever you give to him. And similarly for the mix, when you're recording a song, you are recording the musical instruments, you're recording the singers, you're processing the files, you're, sometimes even working on their pitching, you're correcting their sur. So those are things that a music recording engineer, it is preferred that he has a background in music so he can understand. Like I had a kind of a background in music, so I could relate to the music engineer. If he told me, yaar, thoda sur kam lag raha hai, then we would say that, okay, this is the scale, then we should set the scale, and if it is thoda flat ho ya thoda sharp ho, then we corrected the pitch. I did not need anyone's help to do that. So as a music recording engineer, you have to understand music so that you can take off a lot of headache from the music director's shoulder, from his burden from his shoulder, and you can technically give him what he is looking for. Have I answered your question?
Yes. Saurabh Mishra also wanted to ask something. So Saurabh, if you are around, please ask your question.
Yes, please.
Sir, I have two questions. You mentioned in post-production we select OK takes. So, so let's say the OK takes for cinematographer should not necessarily true for OK takes of a sound recordings. So, how do you choose? Like, you have to sit with the director, cinematographer, sound recordist, and editor to choose the OK sound, or how this process happens?
Very good question. Very good question. क्या है, कई बार when I'm recording now, everything about it is fine, but the sound is not right. So what happens is the editor goes through the various other takes जहाँ पे sound okay है, and then we लगाओ it to the original take and see whether the sync is matching. So sometimes the takes are from the NG take से हम लोग sound लेके visual okay take में लगाते हैं, and then we try and match it with the lips to see that it is in sync. अगर वो भी नहीं हुआ, and if people are still not sure whether the sound is okay, then what we do is we do spot dubbing. Spot dubbing का मतलब है आप डायलॉग बोल गए, जैसे मैं कैमरा की तरफ देख के डायलॉग बोल रहा हूँ, हेलो हाउ आर यू, ओके हेलो हाउ आर यू में कुछ डिस्टर्बेंस आ गया, तो अब कैमरा बंद करके हम लोग एक वाइल्ड डब ले लेते हैं, हेलो हाउ आर यू. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड स्पॉट डबिंग. इनफैक्ट ये right now in one of the projects that we are working, Ranveer is shooting. Ranveer का मेरे को मैसेज आया कि डायलॉग सिंक में मेरा डायलॉग थोड़ा सॉफ्ट होगा because of my character. So I told him, आप एक काम करो, you do spot dubbing after every take. And spot dubbing, when he's doing, his throw is getting better. So I know that I may have to use the spot dubs for all these particular situations. So we are trying to work out an equation over there. So you're right when you say that visually take okay है, लेकिन sound wise अगर okay नहीं है, तो either we take the okay takes of the same sequence from other takes. Suppose there are 4-5 take तो हो ही जाते हैं, तो उसमें से कोई अच्छा लेके sometimes we edit also. Like hello मैंने first take से लिया, how are you, how are मैंने second take से लिया, you मैंने third take से लिया, ऐसे करके भी हम लोग जोड़ के dialogue को edit करके we try and make it into one file.
Sir, I have just one other question. Like I watched your film Padmavat in theaters, and since it's a Bhansali sir film, तो वो बहुत particular होते हैं हर एक चीज के बारे में कि everything should be perfect, and it was everything perfect. So like how I just want to know your process, understand your process. Like if you say कि मोतियों का माला का आवाज है, but then like जब रणवीर fight कर रहे थे तब, so ये तो काफी पर्सनल चॉइस है ना, तो एज अ साउंड डिजाइनर आप फिर मतलब हंड्रेड्स ऑफ सैंपल्स क्रिएट करते हैं, और हाउ दिस हैपेंस कि एक पर्टिकुलर सीन में अगर कोई साउंड यूज करना है, सो बिकॉज एवरीथिंग कुड नॉट फाइंड ऑन स्टॉक.
या फॉर्चुनेटली नो, दोज आर देन क्रिएटेड इन फोली. पद्मावत में हमने क्या किया था, वी हैड रिकॉर्डेड दोज मोती का साउंड्स. I had recorded them on this thing. I had some sounds of beads, but then my library did not have a good sound, so I recorded them in Foley. And Sanjay ke saath I worked on Bajirao and on Padmavat. And before that, much before that, I had recorded his songs, and for Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam and Devdas also I had mixed the songs. So Sanjay was incidentally हमारे batch का था from FTII. तो एक one good thing about FTI is that everybody's basic orientation, we are all on the same page aesthetically, more or less. बाकी हर आदमी का माने in terms of understanding cinema. So हम लोग का जो background था, हम लोग का जो grounding था, that was not very different. The second is the sensibility. So sensibility is also not very different. क्योंकि उसका जो thought process है, मेरा जो thought process है, I'm trying to qualify his thought process and probably come out even better. 95% of the times मैंने जब संजय को दिखाया ये देख कैसे है, I have decided this is a sort of a thing that I have done. He was more than happy with it. तो वहाँ conflict का वो नहीं है. But at the same time there are certain places where he says that I would want music over here rather than this thing, and I could realize that okay, this is why he was asking for that. But in terms of creative differences, very little creative differences I've had with Sanjay. In fact, he's one of the best directors for me to work with because he understands why you're doing what you're doing. So, but this is not the case with every director. कुछ directors के अलग perspective होते हैं जो aesthetically it may not sound very nice, but ultimately he's saying it, so we have to do it. Ultimately, the director is the person who's जिसके idea से thought से ये picture बन रहा है. So he is the person who will tell you. It's like you involving an architect. मतलब architect अगर आएगा तो कुछ भी बना देगा आपको अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. Even though he is one of the best architects in the world, you may not like it. But he will have to go with your taste. Bhai, I have a taste that I want this house to be very colonial looking house. Or very postmodernist kind of a look I want. Or I want a very American kind of a look. Or I want a very European kind of a look. So ये आपका taste अगर है तो आपका architect बैठ के he will source materials accordingly and he will वो आपका घर उस हिसाब से बनाएगा. So that is the case even with the DOP, the sound designer, and your editor also sometimes, and your visual effects designer, your VFX artists. तो ये सारों का involvement होता है. See, making a film, unlike an author, for example, मैं सुबह एक idea सोचता हूँ, मैं एक pen लेता हूँ, paper लेता हूँ, I start writing. Or if I'm a painter, I just take my brush and I start painting whatever comes to my mind. But as a filmmaker, I cannot suddenly get up and make a film. I need to have a whole technical infrastructure along with it to realize my image, my vision, which involves the sound designer, the director of photography, the editor, the actor. In सबको मिला के मैं अपना कहानी बुन रहा हूँ. So first of all, in my selection process itself, I see okay, I want this kind of a look. Probably this DOP will give me this kind of a look. And I'm looking at this particular kind of sound. Probably this sound designer will help me, will understand what I'm looking at. So 75%, 80% तो उधर ही हो जाता है काम की. Okay, if this is the person, then from my side, I try and give you a better sound than what you would have probably thought of. और कई बार ऐसे होता है कि वो देख लेगा, he will give me a proper design as far as this particular thing is concerned. तो ऐसे भी होता है. Have I answered?
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Anybody else who has a question, please ask. Jay Kishore. Jay Kishore.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, is it decided in the pre-production that the film will be in 7.1 or 5.1 or stereo?
No.
Or it is decided later?
No. Nowadays the standard format सबका Atmos बन गया है. And when you're doing an Atmos mix, you're already having 7.1, 5.1 stereo by default आपका छप भी जाता है. So there are certain theaters which do not have a facility of Atmos, then they take your 5.1 and play it. But the film does not, the film format, आप कौन से format में करोगे, it has no bearing on the film. क्योंकि आपको minimum 5.1 आजकल करना ही होता है. There is no mono format आजकल होता नहीं है. And stereo film में इसलिए नहीं होता है कि घर पे आप जैसे stereo सुनते हो, your left and right speakers are close by. So what happens is your left and your right creates a phantom center. But in a film theater, what happens is your left and the right speakers are so far apart that there is a dip in the center. So you need to have a center speaker. So you have left, center, and right. And then left, center, right, अगर हो ही गया तो आप एक subwoofer भी डाल दो और surrounds भी डाल दो, आपका 5.1 तो हो ही जाएगा. And that is now a standard format for every film.
Bishwadeep, I have a question
हाँ जी,
because you was the one who did the first film for the Atmos, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes.
today, Atmos has a very particular quality of sound. When we talk about the Atmos, which has a unique dimension to it, particularly the Z-axis, what we talk about,
Yeah.
the top sound flying over our head.
Yeah.
But do you think that the most of the film which are being made, sometimes they are more emotionally oriented rather than those kind of aeroplane flying and special effect kind of a film?
Hmm.
Do you think all the films are suited for the Atmos recording or Atmos system?
Yeah, it does not matter because क्या है, it does not, ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब you know, we are, even if it is an action film, if it is a non-action film, our perception is immersive audio. Our perception is always we are listening to sound. If somebody, if there's a thunder, it's coming from above. If there is an aircraft flying, it is happening from above. If there is rain, if I'm standing outside, then or if there's rain falling on the ceiling, it is coming from above. It can be a very uh, personal moment where I'm sitting and looking out of the window. But then I can hear the raindrops everywhere. I can also hear raindrops on my roof. So उसके लिए अगर एटमॉस होगा तो it just makes it more immersive. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके पास सारे स्पीकर्स है तो कुछ ना कुछ उसमें से ऐसे डालो कि people start looking around and seeing all that. ऐसा नहीं है. Because क्या होता है कि in our system, मतलब our survival system है कि जब हम सो जाते हैं हमारा हियरिंग लेकिन ऑन रहता है. कैमरा शट हो जाता है, आईज शट, कैमरा शट हो जाता है, लेकिन हमारा हियरिंग ऑलवेज इज एक्टिव. दिस इज आवर सर्वाइवल इंस्टिंक्ट. क्योंकि जंगलों में जब हम लोग रहते थे, देन द ओनली थिंग दैट कुड अलर्ट यू वाज द साउंड्स. इफ देयर इज एनी वाइल्ड एनिमल और थिंग्स लाइक दैट, दीस साउंड्स हेल्प अलर्ट मी सो दैट आई कुड टेक इवेसिव एक्शन. So even today when we wake up to the alarm clock. So this is proof that नींद में भी हमारा हियरिंग एक्टिव है. So sound is all the time everywhere. So ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर सामने से एक गाड़ी निकल जाती है and then it crosses me and goes behind me, ऐसा नहीं है कि उसका sound बंद हो जाएगा. So and if it shuts, if I can't hear anything behind me, then there is something wrong with me. So you expect the trail of the sound of the car to go away behind you. Or if there's an aircraft that flies above you, we don't constantly keep looking at, unless you want to see the aircraft. It does not bother us that the sound has gone behind us. Because it is something natural for us that ye sound piche hai. So we are surrounded by all kinds of sounds from everywhere. The only time you will look back is if somebody calls you by your name. Hey, Naresh ji. Then you, Naresh ji, will turn around and see, अच्छा किन्होंने बुलाया. But if say there's a car passing by, he will not necessarily look at it because he knows there's a road and गाड़ियां यहाँ से जाती हैं. So you won't need to look behind. So the surround sound format is to put you in that, we call it immersive audio with Atmos and all that today. But it is a complete experience that we have all collectively come to, experience and understand and get used to it. Now we are used to the fact that, that sound is in surround. उसको enhance करने के लिए there are some horror films में थोड़ा सा आपको ये notice होगा. एक्शन वॉर फिल्म्स में आपको नोटिस होगा कि बुलेट यहाँ से चला गया, चॉपर ऊपर से चला गया, एक्सप्लोजन वहां से आया, एक्सप्लोजन की डेब्री, कांच वगैरह सब यहाँ से गिर रहा है, ऐसे लग रहा है मेरे सर के ऊपर से नीचे गिर रहा है. सो इट गिव्स यू अ pinpoint, it pinpoints all these little sources and makes the whole thing very crystal clear, almost in audio, that you have a beautiful audio experience.
From here, I drive a question which I'm interrupting in between to you. That when if you know that film is going to be only in the 2D and it is not going to be released in 3D. Okay, there are those kind of films also. And there are those kind of films also which will be released in 2D as well as 3D. So how your sound design will differ from a film which will be released in the two different versions, 2D plus 3D, than the one which will be only 2D?
Yeah, Naresh, this is a very good question. In fact, I felt this when पद्मावत को क्या किया उन्होंने 3D पोस्ट में they made it into a 3D film.
Correct.
But unfortunately क्या होता है कि perspective सारा हिल जाता है. They don't have time to do a proper 3D mix.
Correct.
We have studios which can play 3D for you to do a proper 3D mix. You will need, the workstations and the stuff that we are working on today, they are not geared up to reproduce 3D imaging. तो वो हम क्या करते हैं when we know that this is going to be a 3D film, then थोड़ा सा preempt करके मैं थोड़ा सा करने की कोशिश करता हूँ, but the whole perspective, the depth of field, all that changes. And because there's so much change in depth of field, ऐसे लग रहा है कि सामने वाला actor तो मेरे गोद में बैठ गया और पीछे वाला और दूर चला गया. So ideally, if I had a visual reference of this in 3D, I would have mixed it accordingly कि ये character का sound थोड़ा presence ज़्यादा होगा, वो और दूर चला गया. 2D में ऐसा नहीं मिलता है. So we do it according to 2D, and according to 3D, that is, we just leave it to chance that it works or it does not work.
Kshitij, do you have an answer because you have raised your hand, Kshitij? Or you already have asked? Kshitij, do you have a question because you have raised your hand? So I'm asking, do you have a question? We can't hear it.
Mic is off.
Your mic is off. Please unmute yourself. Yeah, please carry on. Your sound is still not.
Can you type your question?
You can type your question over here. We will read it out for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, my question was regarding the interview process. They would ask us to write and describe the sound. How would we do that in words?
For the various interviews that I have been called as external, there was no writing involved in an oral interview. अभी orientation में मुझे पता नहीं है. Maybe in that, is it part of that orientation process? Naresh, I'm a little
Yes,
out.
yes. What they do is sometimes they will share a clipping of a sound along with a visual, or it could be just a sound only. And then they might ask student to notice certain things and describe them in the words. That's a plan A.
Yeah.
Then there's another plan called plan B. They would give you a situation, let's say, for example, in the 1930s, a train station, and describe what kind of sound do you hear over that train station. That could be another one. So any situation, they would give it to you, and then you need to describe that into the words and send the word file to them via email. That's one of the. Sometimes they could ask individually also, play a 10-seconder of a sound, because the 30 minutes they give individually to every student. So 10 second to 30 second to 1 minute. Let's say, for example, 1 minute is the ideal duration. They will play a sound of 1 minute duration for you. And then they will ask you, or maybe 2 minutes, or maybe 3 minutes, because 30 minutes are normally given to every student individually by the team of 3 to 4 people expert. And then they will ask you to describe about the sound design of this sequence of 3 minutes.
Yeah. So what he's also mentioning is, आपने उनको बताया कि swish and rustling का मत बताओ आप. So I did not understand that.
No, what I said is that I also told them, okay, let's say, for example, since Naresh had mentioned that we should use the word like swish and I was, because I remember most of the time when I record the interviews of the sound recordist, what I learned is how to describe a particular kind of sound through a particular word. There's always a terminology. In Hindi, हम लोग तो बोल देते हैं कुछ हो गया. अब ये शू क्या है? There could be a particular term to define that kind of a thing in English language. So when they are describing that, I told them, pick up those particular terms to define that particular sound through a particular word, so that you will be more appropriate in your description while you are describing something like that.
Yeah.
So what I am trying to say, or what he is trying to say, is that how to describe that sound design in terms of vocabulary or
So
you're asking.
actually you can use both these terms depending on like if there's a sword that is swinging in front of your nose, so usko to swish, that the sound of that sword is going to be called a swish, or a knife that is going to be, or even a stick that is waved in front of you, that is a swish. And rustling is basically, there are different types of rustling. जैसे आप चल रहे हो जंगल में, there's some rustling in the bush. Then that alerts you कि चलो कोई animal है या कोई आदमी वहाँ छुपा हुआ है. So that sort of, you have to define. If you're saying rustling, then you have to define that there's a rustle of leaves. But ऐसा नहीं है कि that you cannot use those terms, because those are the terms. But like what Naresh probably is saying is, don't be absurd in the kind of description of that. You know, don't use like हम लोग हिंदी में या बंगाली में जैसे यूज करते हैं कि फटाके धूम करके फटाके फटे. Those kind of things, don't be vague in terms of that kind of a description. But if it is, then say rustle of clothes, because क्या होता है कई बार जैसे कपड़े उतारते हैं, या if I'm wearing something, उसका भी एक sound होता है. अगर मैं armor चढ़ा रहा हूँ अपने ऊपर, उसका भी एक sound होता है. So these are rustling of clothes. And rustling in the bushes, rustling of leaves. You know, if you're walking on dried leaves, तो उसका भी एक sound होता है. अगर पेड़ हिल रहा है, if the branches are moving, then there is a sound of rustling of leaves. So those are specific sounds, and like swishes are like swords, or anything that you swing by you that creates a swishing kind of a sound. Now what also happens is transition भी होता है. जैसे ये scene से next scene जाओ, तो then there is a transitional sound. So you can say that there is a transitional sound. That particular sound is being used to do some
So Bishwadeep, since they will not have a particular question, let me ask something which will be helpful.
So thing is, so mentioning the object with the sound is in describing it. Did I got that right? Yes, basically, whatever that activity is happening, if you describe that, then it is not very vague. Then it is very perfect. So if that person is swinging a sword in front of your nose, तो उसका तो swish आएगा ही. Even you can say that even the metallic swish भी आप बोल सकते हो, because एक metallic tone भी आता है. अगर if it is a sword, मैंने मियान से तलवार निकाला तो that झिंग करके एक metal sound आता है. But झिंग करके आता है, that I cannot say. I can say that there is a sound of a metallic sound of the sword being taken out of the sheath.
Somebody is asking, can you explain a bit about 8D sound audio? How is it created? 8D.
That is bullshit. That is bullshit. Don't even try and attempt try to impress them with this sort of a jargon.
So anyway, let me ask the important question, because I lost the touch after Padmavat and Uri, these two interviews, which I'll be sending it to the student. After that, you have done a couple of films also. And something which is always of interest for me is a stylized kind of sound which you do in a post-production particularly. So do you recollect any of the situation after Padmavat and Uri, which you would like to mention now for the benefit of these students? Because these interview, I'll be sending it to them to read.
Okay. You're talking about recent films. The recent films, stylization, I would in fact not come to the recent films. I would go back to one of my earlier films called Madras Cafe.
Correct.
So stylization is something, first of all, you should understand what is stylization.
Sure.
And stylization is something which, you're kind of, you're creating a particular sound. You're trying to tell a story by creating a particular sound artificially. In the sense like, there's a scene, if you have seen Madras Cafe, if you have not seen Madras Cafe, please see it. There is a scene where where John Abraham goes, the protagonist, John Abraham goes to rescue the politician, supposedly Rajiv Gandhi, but he's too late, and there's a bomb blast that happens. In that bomb blast, I have created like I put in a tone, like, as though your ears are ringing. So I put in a, 1 kilohertz, I don't remember, 6-7 kilohertz like constant, like, piercing tone I have put in that. And I have garbled all the sounds around John, because that is what I wanted to get into the character's mind. So I'm trying to create this by stylizing the fact that, that John is confused and he's not able to, he's become incoherent. He's not understanding where these sounds are coming from. So in that shock, I wanted to create that impression of a shock that, there's a bomb blast and he could not save it, could not save this thing. He's caught up in the blast. There's a ringing in his ear. There are, very garbled sounds happening around him till he wakes up to, an ambulance and those kind of real sounds of kids crying and all that. Suddenly that shakes him out of that zone into reality. So these kind of things are called stylizations. So I have done that in this film. There are little moments of stylization that we all do in every kind of film. It's, for me right now, I'm not able to recollect them. But
I think that's good enough, because I have recorded another 2 places also, the description which you have mentioned. So, gentlemen, we are almost done. It is 3:52 or 3:53. If you still have a question, you can ask it. Other, we can call it as a day. And it's really a pleasure to talk to Bishwadeep again, though I keep meeting on and off to him. But for you, it's quite a interesting situation where you could have asked anything from him. So any question if you have is wonderful. Otherwise, we'll call it off. Great. Okay. So I think we are done. And Vishwadeep, thank you so much
wishing
for
everyone
for us.
all the best.
Yeah, great. Lovely. Thank you very much, all gentlemen. So let's end the meeting for today. Thank you very much, Vishwadeep, again.